Gosh, I hope these don't fall on me. This is a lot of weight for this table. Hey, welcome back, friends. So today we're going to address the two hitches I get the most comments and questions about. You know, if you haven't ever seen the channel before, I've experienced 11 different weight distribution hitches. I've tested those hitches and shared my experiences on those hitches over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. And these are the two I get the most questions about. So today we're going to go over the pros and cons of both. And I'm going to add my preferences in here and there as well. So hope you'll stick around. All right, here we go, guys. So on your right is the WaySafe TruTow. This is the heavyweight edition that they came out with early 2024, the new heavyweight edition. And this over here on your left, this is going to be your left, my right, is the B&W Continuum. I've got both the hitch heads out here. Both of these units I've used for well over 500 miles. I've had this one here for nearly 2 years now. And again, I've had this one since early 2024. I get the most questions about these two units. So, you know, even though we've tested 11 different weight distribution hitches, you guys know that I'm very fond of these two. And I've also visited Utah and watched these units being built. I've got a caveat to that here in just a second. But I visited Humboldt, Kansas, and got to see the Continuums being built. Great companies. So I want to start off by saying, regardless of which one of these units you decide on, you're in a win-win situation, okay? I'm going to give you the pros and cons of both. I'll even give you some preferences, my own preferences, but you're in a win-win. You're dealing with great companies, great human beings at both companies, and they're both wonderful products, okay? But at the end of the day, you've still got a decision to make which one to buy. So I'm going to try to help load up your knowledge arsenal and just share my particular experience and a couple of my preferences on these hitches, all right? I don't like being called an influencer. I'm not trying to influence you either way. I just sincerely want you to be more knowledgeable in your purchase. That's all this is about, all right? So, well, I like to start on a positive note as well, so we'll start with the WaySafe positives. I'll try to move through these fairly quickly. If you have any questions, please hop down in that comment section. And yeah, if you have any experiences with any of these two, also share those. The more experiences people see, the more knowledgeable they are, the better chance they have at making a great purchase when it comes to the weight distribution hitch. So we'll start with the positives here. I got my little cheat sheet here, so you'll see me looking down. I just didn't want to forget anything. As far as performance concerns, the WaySafe to me performs the best, as good as any hitch I've tested, and that includes a Pro Pride. Now, I would give the Pro Pride a slight edge when it comes to sway, but when I say sway, really what I mean is the back of the trailer moving. So with the Pro Pride, the back of the trailer doesn't move at all. The trailer moves as a whole. With this unit, the back of the trailer maybe moves a couple of inches. So there's been some misinformation out there about me saying that this thing controls 99% of sway instead of 100% of sway. Well, I should say it controls 99% of the movement. Let me say it that way, all right? And I don't think you're going to have a sway incident with this one here, okay? I don't think you're ever going to get a huge sway incident with this one either, all right? If you're properly set up, you know, I hate seeing these videos of trailers going all over the place and companies making you think you have to buy their product before you're going to be safe. You and your family deserve this product. And if you don't have this product, you're putting your family at risk. I just disagree. I wholeheartedly disagree. So performance-wise, I really like the WaySafe. The best performing hitch, in my opinion, versus these two. There's a caveat to that. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, I like the connectivity this one gives. I like the feeling of being one with my trailer, and that is a huge pro for the WaySafe in my eyes. Also, another pro is the precise setup. So you've already got the scale. The stickers here all over this hitch tell you your torque specs. You have an app available to you where you take very easy to take measurements with your axles on your trailer and your truck and the height of the ball. All of that stuff is super easy to deal with, and it's right there on your smartphone. Basically, all of you watching this have a smartphone. You're probably watching this on your smartphone, and yeah, welcome to the 21st century. I mean, thank you for using what's available to us. Thank you, WaySafe, for using what's available to us to set our hitch up. You know, there's other hitches out there. You have to use washers. You have to guess. They get you kind of set up initially, and then you have to fine tune over hundreds of miles. And if you blow it up differently, I mean, yeah, it just gets old. This takes care of that, and I love that. That's a huge pro for this particular. It's probably the biggest pro for it. I mean, quite frankly, it's the only one with the scale. So yeah, we're good to go there. Next up for me, it's a big pro. That is, it is beefy. Now, I'm going to also put that in the con category for some of you, but for me personally, I like that it's heavy. I like that it's a lot of steel. That's a big deal to me. Where the truck meets the trailer, I like having a lot of steel there. It just feels safer. It feels like it's going to last. Maybe it won't. Maybe it won't, but it feels that way to me. It gives me a peace of mind. And so I like that there's a lot of steel. I like that it's heavy. And many of you won't, and we'll talk about that in a second. But for me, it is a pro. All right, B&W pros. B&W, I got to visit B&W. I visited both of these companies, actually, but I got to visit B&W in Humboldt, Kansas. B&W hitch is entirely made in the USA with USA steel. I think that is a big deal. All right, I'm very appreciative of that. I saw where the steel was coming from. I watched them build these hitches with my own eyes. All right, not through video, but I was actually there and watched it happen. I did that too with these hitches, but that's changed, and we'll talk about that in just a second. The B&W Continuum is very easy to hook up. Probably the easiest. This and the Anderson hitches, I would say, are the easiest to hook up as far as just attaching them to the truck. All right, so I've done that video. We have, again, a lot of this has already been done on videos just between these two hitches, but I've done that video. I've explained how to hook this hitch up. Go back in the channel and find that. I'll probably put a card up here, but it's the easiest to hook up by far, really. I mean, it's super simple. There's not a lot of prying of bars or any of that stuff. It's pretty simple to do. This hitch, the Continuum, another big pro, is ride quality. So I mentioned that when a correction is needed on this one, as far as performance is concerned, whether it's a truck or a wind event, something like that, this one I think corrects better than anything. This one, as far as ride quality, when you're in ideal towing situations, no wind, no big trucks, stuff like that, offers an incredibly great ride quality. There are times, and I know this is crazy because if you've towed a lot, it's just hard to say, but there are times where you have to remember you have a trailer behind you. All right. Now, we'll talk about its correction abilities here in just a second, or my preferences in that department. But as far as ride quality, on a good day, on a nice bluebird day of towing, you just can't beat it. Those composite bars really, I think they really do have an advantage in cushioning the ride, and it's a great ride quality. Another pro that the Continuum offers, and this is going to be the very early Continuums didn't have this option, but the most of them that have been sold do, and that is a relief valve in the hydraulic system. So if you put undue amounts of pressure on this system, it does have a relief valve, and that is to protect the hitch. Now, here's the thing. They also claim that it protects the frame of your trailer. So we're going to talk about that here in just a second. I'm not sure if that's something that's a widespread problem, but it does make sense. All right. So if, we did some testing with B&W, you could see the pressures that those dips in the road, really the big dips in the road are what puts the most pressure on these hitches. And you could see this significant forces going on when those dips occur, and they've put in a relief valve to dampen the ones that might become a real problem and force this hitch to fail. And so that will also help your A-frame. You know, I've seen pictures of A-frames having problems with hitches, but I don't know how those were set up. They're very, very scarce. I don't see pictures and stories. Very rarely do I see that. So I'm not sure it's a widespread problem. I'm not sure it's even that big of a problem at all. But it does have that system, and it should offer you some protection if you are doing a lot of off-roading, if you have a lighter weight frame, maybe something like that. It could be a nice advantage for you. All right, let's go to some cons. Started off with the WaySafe with the positives. Let's talk about some negatives to it. The WaySafe is no longer built entirely in the United States. That's something that has changed in this past year. That's very disappointing to me. And now there's varying stories of how much is built here, the parts, and there's also different rules about being able to say whether or not something's made in the USA. So those rules have changed in the last year and a half or so. But it's my understanding now that most of this hitch is sourced and built overseas, and they now bring them in on off shipping containers, and they inspect them, and they put them through their testing to make sure that they're up to spec. It took them a while to do all of this. And quite frankly, I'm not upset with WaySafe for doing that. I'm more upset about our environment here, that they felt like they needed to do that. I guess it was more of a situation where they either were going to really raise the price of the hitch, or they wanted to maintain the price of the hitch and move some of the manufacturing overseas. Regardless, it's disappointing to me. And so that's a big con with this hitch. Now, I've had the USA built one. I've got 2 USA built ones sitting right here in my garage, and this one I think was built overseas. Now, overseas means China, Taiwan, or maybe even Mexico. I'm not sure. I haven't communicated with them a ton about it, because I only found out about it because I have a video out showing these being built in Utah. And they told me, hey, we just want to give you a heads up. We're moving some of those processes overseas. Unfortunately, they're not thrilled about it either. Something they felt like they had to do. And so yeah, that's a con for me. And I think for many of you in the RV community, that'll be a con for you as well. The other con that I have with this hitch is not for me, but I think for most of you, this will be a con. It is very heavy. Very heavy. This is the heaviest hitch that you have to deal with. So ProPride is heavier, but obviously ProPride stays connected to your trailer. So that part you're not really ever dealing with. So you can't really count that against the ProPride weight. But as far as a hitch head's concerned, this is the heaviest I've dealt with. Now, it is lighter than the old WaySafe heavyweight, so that's a good thing. But yeah, it is very heavy. One last con I'm literally thinking of as I'm sitting here looking at it. Every once in a while, it doesn't happen much, and I think they're trying to correct it, but every once in a while, the lip of your trailer will catch on this adjustment nut here. It actually has never happened to me, but I could see where it does happen to some. If the flange on your hitch on your trailer is a little bit bigger than mine, I could see where it would catch this nut right here and cause, you'd have to move your truck up or back a little bit, but it's just a kind of a little hitch. I shouldn't say a hitch on a hitch, a little glitch on this design. This should be a little bit further back maybe, but yeah. I forgot to mention a pro. You can use your tailgate on this one, okay? B&W cons. So a couple of these cons are in my head, and that means that, for example, I'll give you an example. The hydraulic system on this hitch, it worries me. Now, it's never failed on me, so it's not fair to say that the hydraulic system is a con, but it is fair to say that my peace of mind with the hydraulic system is a con. The reason I say that, every time you set this hitch up to the PSI, recommended PSI, you have to over pressurize it by about 250 PSI. And the reason being is because it loses that much as seals set, as hoses expand, etc. So the system basically has flexing and relaxing. Well, that tells me there's going to be wear in that department. Anyone that makes hoses, hydraulic hoses for a living, they know that these things fail at times. And B&W, to their credit, they've taken this design from farm equipment, heavy equipment, and they're very, very confident in it. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be, but my peace of mind is a little bit less here than it is here. And that's why I give that a con. I just worry about those parts flexing and relaxing, and they're obviously wearing. How long that takes, I don't know. They tell me they've got hitches with over 50,000 miles on them, and I certainly believe them. They're great people. We'll have to see. The jury's still out. I think these hitches need to be out 2, 3, 4, 5 more years before we know if that's actually an issue. But my peace of mind is an issue, and yeah, I think about that a lot when I'm using this hitch. Also, another con here is the care. The composite bars perform really well, but the care of the composite bars concerns me a little bit. They're not supposed to be in sunlight. or they're supposed to be stored out of sunlight, I should say. They can obviously see the light of day, but they're supposed to be stored out of the sunshine. That's a problem if you're full-timing, especially. It's also a problem for us as weekenders. We basically have to remove a third of the hitch every time you use it. So when you get to the campsite, you got to remove those composite bars, put them up somewhere out of the sunshine. Now, we don't do that, but the instructions ask you to. All right. Also, you're not supposed to get any cleaning fluids, soaps, etc. on the composite bars. That's a concern. I like to wash my trailer when I'm washing the propane covers and we wash, shining up the frame up there, up the protective, the fiberglass cover, all of that stuff, the fiberglass front cap, all of that stuff gets overspray all over the hitch. That care recommendations are there for a reason. And the fact that they don't want any cleaning soaps or any type of cleaners on those composite bars, it worries me a little bit. All right. So yeah, those are two cons there. The other con for me, and again, this is going back to preferences. My understanding, B&W, this is a big part of this video. B&W has tested both of these hitches with accelerometers. And they were very clear to me that both of them control movement the same. All right? The way in which they control movement, though, is different. This is a much more rigid piece of equipment than this. All right? Steel, composite. Now, they tell me that what I'm feeling, the reason I feel like this one's more connected is because it gives a more firm correction. If I get a little bump of wind, it instantly brings it back. It's just a little nudge and then it's back. If a truck passes me, they have to be really hauling it. I usually don't get any truck suck, but if a truck passes me in an odd situation where I'm going much slower, I'll get a little boom and it's right back behind me. This feels like train tracks. All right. I just feel connected, and that is a preference for me. This one, on the other hand, corrects more softly. That was the what am I trying to say here? The explanation I was given by B&W why I felt this hitch felt a little more floaty. All right, guys, sorry about that. My GoPro got too hot. You know how those things go sometimes. But yeah, the floaty feeling here with the B&W to me is a con. I like the connectivity. I like the train tracks feel of the WaySafe better than the B&W. Last thing, the B&W now asks you guys to remove your tongue jack, the foot on your tongue jack, when you're towing. So I think that's just kind of something I don't think most people will find that fun to be removing and reinstalling that every single time they connect and disconnect. That's just an extra step that kind of a pain in the butt, to be honest with you. So at the end of the day, you're actually asked to remove that foot of your tongue jack and the load bar assembly basically every time you use the hitch. So that's a kind of a con to me. That's it's as easy as it is to set up. They kind of take away from that convenience by asking you to do all this other stuff. And so, yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a con. All right, there you go, guys. I have already spoken way too much. I think this video is running into like 20 some odd minutes, and so that's silly. But I just wanted to be very thorough with you guys. I do get this question quite often. I mean, I'm getting this question 4, 5, 6 times a week easily, and maybe more than that. And so I just wanted to be as thorough as I could. I know I ramble, and I apologize for that. Either way, as I mentioned in the beginning, you're in a great situation with either one of these hitches. I've been very happy with both, and they're both great companies run by great people. Everyone I've met from both sides has been really, really nice, and they just really seem like great human beings. All right, guys, over 80,000 subscribers, and I just want to say thank you. I also want to send my thoughts and prayers to those folks just east of us, actually, in Augusta, Georgia. They were just hammered by Hurricane Helene. Also Middle Georgia, South Georgia, some of those farmers and some of those crops have really been taken out. It's just going to be a long recovery. And then, of course, the folks in Western North Carolina. Georgia got a lot of wind, and that obviously caused a lot of damage, but that water damage in Asheville and Western North Carolina is just awful. It's going to take years for them to rebuild. So, yeah, my thoughts and prayers to you guys. I'm filming this in early October of 2024, and this is fresh on my mind. So I just wanted to say my thoughts and prayers are with you guys in those situations. Everyone else, I hope you're being safe. See ya.